And now for the main event, Curtis Blaydes versus Chris Daukaus. Now, let's be real. I think if Chris Daukaus could have picked an opponent, this probably wouldn't be the highest on his list. I mean, this isn't going to be your swanging and banging style fighting. It's going to be a lot of timing, a lot of grappler versus striker. And, I think people are going to count out Curtis Blaydes here. I think that Chris Daukaus is not only one of the fastest rising prospects in the heavyweight, one of the fastest rising stars in the heavyweight division. And I made the joke before, but I saw this Tom Aspinall and Chris Daukaus rise as like a Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos, which was very much at the time where I went from liking a sport to literally falling in love with a sport. So, yeah, I'm in that boat, right? I saw Tom pull it off last week, and now we're getting Chris Daukaus in the main event. So what is it about Curtis Blaydes that people don't seem to like? Well, if there was one professional argument I had against him, I love the wrestling. The chain level at this weight class is very unique. I think his biggest flaw is he plays into his opponent's game plans far too easily. He's so willing to try and execute his game plan of just taking you to the ground and trying to get you out of there. But it puts him in places where he can eat uppercuts from a guy like Derrick Lewis. You talk about Derrick Lewis's gravitational pull. I mean, both these guys were pulled into that realm and just ate shit for it, right? Like, that is basically what happened. There is a path to victory for Derrick Lewis, and it's stay at kicking distance and avoid any lunges. If he throws one of those kicks where he flies up in the air, I mean, sure, I think you can see it coming. In this case, it's... One, can Curtis Blaydes avoid the speed from Chris Daukaus? I think the footwork and the hand speed is going to be what really is his advantage in this fight, but he has to land. He has to avoid the takedowns. And that's where, for Curtis Blaydes, it's like the records and the level of output that he has, the heavyweight division as a wrestler, is insane. And I think that as a striker, you have to be able to defend and time those shots as well as best as you possibly can to stay in the fight. Because the way I see this fight playing out is if Curtis Blaydes can get this fight to the ground, he might not look for heavy submissions, but he's going to be able to get some of that ground and pound going. And with, Chris Daukaus' durability, yes, Derrick Lewis knocked him out, but Derrick Lewis knocks out a lot of people. This could be a Curtis Blaydes, a potential 10-8 round here and there where he just dominates him for 5 rounds on the ground, doesn't let him up much. But at the same time, I feel like Daukaus brings an underrated BJJ game to the party. That whole camp, right? His brother's phenomenal on the ground. It's just those Philadelphia fighters, I feel like, have an underrated all-around MMA game, but they also stick to what they love. They love to box. They love to strike. And that is the bread and butter of Philly fighting, right? So for me, Chris Daukaus, policeman, great boxer, hand speed for days. It's just about avoiding the takedowns and keeping this fight standing. I think if he picks his shots well, he might not be landing big, powerful shots like Derrick Lewis, but his 3, 4, 5 punch combos on a clean Curtis Blaydes, especially when it's later in the fight and if he's able to keep the fight standing, this could go Daukaus' way. And that's where, for me, in speaking of Daukaus like he's an underdog, yeah, I do believe Curtis Blaydes deserves to be a favorite here. And the reason I say that is because of the style. I just think that when you're banking on someone to knock somebody else out over 5 rounds versus trying to see if they can grapple, like, let's look at Volkov and Aspinall. That's not a grappler's fight, but if you were on the Volkov side, guaranteed your thought process is, he's going to be able to be a technical striker for 5 rounds and just outclass him in that sense. I don't even want to use the word outclass, but it's not even outbox, right? It's just like out kickbox, out Muay Thai him, if you will. But that's where, on the flip side, from a grappling perspective, I think it's a little different. I think that it's a little easier for a grappler to impose his will versus a technical striker against a freak athlete like Tom Aspinall. It just, that seems to be the case for the most part. And I like Blaydes in this fight. It's just a part of me wants to see a little bit more throughout fight week, how Chris Daukaus is looking, how they match up even in a face-off. It's just, Blaydes is going to have length. He's not a terrible striker, but he's going to have to deal with some serious hand speed. And so I'm going to go with Blaydes as a -130 favorite. I think that makes the most sense. It's just the speed factor with the hands. It makes Daukaus a little bit closer of an underdog, but the wrestling, the chain gang style, the ability to just really exploit his opponents when he doesn't get knocked out is a pretty big deal for Curtis Blaydes. So I'm going Curtis Blaydes minus 130. Wow. I mean, I don't see value on Curtis Blaydes as a minus 300. And maybe I'm crazy for the argument that I just put out there in terms of the wrestling and stuff like that. But minus 300, now moving up. So Curtis Blaydes not only was a minus 300 opener, but he's getting bet up to as high as minus 360, which puts Chris Daukaus as a plus 235 opener and now going to plus 270. If I had an opinion on this fight from a betting perspective, yeah, you can parlay piece Curtis Blaydes, but that price, I mean, it just seems ridiculous to me. I'd rather throw a sprinkle on Chris Daukaus to see how that goes because, again, is he going to have the ability to knock him out? Is he going to have the ability to stay on his feet? That's what you're banking on. And right now, Vegas thinks that there's very low chance of that happening. But if you think there is, by all means, that's a beautiful price to keep watching because maybe you hit the plus 300 range and Curtis Blaydes is going to hit that minus 400 come the weekend. But outside of that, guys, Columbus fight, Matt Brown fighting at home. It's going to be such a fun card. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button. Throw your boy some love. We're trying to hit that 1,000, that general humble mark of 1,000 subscribers. So help me out do that. We'll see you next week. Peace.